Tell me, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you see someone dressed like me? And be honest with yourselves. Do you think biased, doesn't know the rules, Foot Locker? If you've ever heard someone say something kind of nasty to someone looking like me, or quite possibly said it yourself, well, I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. As someone who's been a basketball official for the past 3 years, I'm quite used to the snide comments, obscene gestures, and uninformed lectures from coaches and parents. But this afternoon, no, it's going to be a little bit different. This time, the referee gets to talk, and you all have to listen. When I was just 4 years old, I fell in love with the game of basketball. Since then, I've played it for 15 years, refereed it for 3, and I've even coached for a season. For those of you keeping track, that's 3 out of the 4 roles you could possibly have when it comes to youth sports. In fact, the only role I haven't held is that of the parent. And seeing as I just turned 19 years old and I can see my mom staring at me right now, I'm going to promise all of you that that won't be happening anytime soon. The role I want to talk to you about tonight, as you can probably guess, is that of the referee. The National Association of Sports Officials recently published a survey of nearly 20,000 referees from all different sports. The overarching theme: sportsmanship is getting worse. Officials feel that the vast majority of spectators, coaches, and athletes treat them unfairly, with nearly half of referees admitting to fearing for their safety at least once in their career. And that's a statistic that I'm sure may surprise many of you, but honestly, it doesn't shock me at all, because I live it every time I step out onto the court. It reminds me of a 4th grade basketball game that I was refereeing about a year ago, and I had a coach scream at me from all the way across the court, audible to anybody that could hear, especially the 9-year-olds on my court. He told me, "Hey, ref, why don't you take your head and get it out of your..." 9-year-olds. I admit, after that day, I was a little bit curious to know if anybody was trying to fix a problem like this. I started at the very top with the National Association of Sports Officials, the ones who conducted the survey I quoted earlier. But they quickly pointed out that they were not responsible for regulating bad sportsmanship. In fact, it was the responsibility of state organizations. To which I said, okay, that makes sense. So I picked up the phone, and I called the Texas High School Basketball Officials Association, of which I am a member, and they said, no. In fact, it was the responsibility of local organizations to address the issue. To which I said, okay. So I picked up the phone, and I called the San Antonio Basketball Officials Association, again, of which I am a member. And they gave me what was starting to feel like a familiar answer. It's not our job. The responsibility, they told me, lies with school districts. Duh. So finally, I picked up the phone, and I called San Antonio ISD, and I bet you'll never guess what they told me. Not our job. So if it's not their job, who the hell's job is it? Across the nation, the responsibility has fallen to current and former sports officials, leaders in sports industries, and even some lawmakers to address the issue. And here are just a couple examples I found. Brian Barlow, a veteran soccer referee in Oklahoma, founded the organization Stop Tormenting Officials Permanently. Or STOP. A Facebook page that posts videos and pictures of coaches and parents acting outrageously at their kids' games. Then we have Ben Glass in Virginia, who founded the organization. I believe he awards $500 to soccer teams in Virginia if they haven't been penalized for misconduct aimed at referees. And finally, Representative Jerome Barnes in Missouri has proposed legislation to expand the definition, get this, of a special victim to include sports officials, thus protecting them from further physical abuse. In other words, we have Barlow shaming people in Oklahoma, Glass bribing people in Virginia, and Barnes threatening incarceration in Missouri. This is what I like to call a breaking point. The way we currently treat referees, it's despicable. It's disgusting. And above all, it's disheartening. I mean, where did common decency go? What are we showing our kids by role modeling abusive behavior? Are we okay with teaching them that authority doesn't matter? I hate to break it to you, but there are referees at every stage in our lives, whether you like it or not. When we're young, parents put us in the penalty box. When we go to school, teachers call the fouls. And when we get a job, I swear our boss is always ready to throw a flag. In 2010, the United States Anti-Doping Administration conducted a study titled, "What Sport Means in America." In it, they concluded that the lessons learned by participating in sport transcend the playing field and contribute to shaping the character and culture of America's citizens. Now, what does that mean? Put another way, the values we teach our young athletes are the ones by which they will develop lasting relationships, endure temporary hardships, and conduct their everyday lives. As we all know, sports is a high-stakes, fast-paced environment that can be addicting. So please, don't get me wrong. I am not asking for parents to give up their support, for coaches to give up their passion, or for players to give up their drive. I'm also not saying that referees are perfect. Trust me, I am one. But everyone knows that referees, we don't make the same mistakes twice. We make them like 5 or 6 times, to be absolutely positive about it. You laughed way too hard at that joke. Unfortunately, this is not one of those problems that's going to be solved tomorrow. There are no programs, initiatives, or incentives that can cure declining sportsmanship anytime soon. In my opinion, the only way to combat this epidemic is by changing the culture of youth sports at an early age. And how do we do that? Well, I'm not going to lie, it won't be easy. But as parents, coaches, and quite frankly, anyone who has skin in the game, it is our job to start treating sports officials with the respect and the dignity they deserve. It's the responsibility of all of us to start leading by example to ensure a healthy future for all of youth sports. Thank you.